Five-star recruit Bryson Tucker just took an official visit to Indiana, but will the McDonald's All-American choose the Hoosiers?
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, and it's the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen each and every day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Hey, if you have not liked this video, if you've clicked on it, or subscribed to the YouTube channel, do those things right now. Don't take another second. Do them right now. 2 taps. It's easy. It's free. Helps the channel grow. We're pushing towards 2,000 subscribers. Yes, we are 29 subs away, so help us become part of that and get to that goal. That would be really, really awesome. If you're on the audio platform, thank you so much as well. You can subscribe on there, turn on notifications so you never miss a new episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode is brought to you by Nissan. Are you the kind of driver that likes to push things a little further? Ever wonder what adventure could be around the next corner? Take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Check them all out today at nissanusa.com. Indiana hosted a 5-star recruit out of high school. Yes, I know it sounds kind of crazy, but we got a 5-star recruit on campus by the name of Bryson Tucker. We'll talk about his visit. That went very, very well, by the way. We'll talk about that, kind of what we're hearing right now about this visit, where we stand on him, what he would bring to this squad for next season. Plus, we'll take a look at some portal names to continue watching as well. Bryson Tucker, 5-star recruit, 2024, a guy that would come in and be the only high school recruit that the Hoosiers would be bringing in because of Liam McNeeley leaving Indiana after signing with the Hoosiers. McDonald's All-American, 6'6". He's a wing. He could play either the 2 or the 3. And look, you can look it up, literally just look up Bryson Tucker on YouTube and you can watch a lot of his film. He's an interesting guy because he played a lot of high school basketball and he moved around quite a bit. Didn't really play AAU ball, didn't get into all of that kind of stuff. His dad was not about it. He wanted him to kind of get better and develop. He wasn't worried about playing a million games while he was in high school. But here's the big key here. People have been asking, okay, why is this guy still available this late in the game? And it's a legitimate concern, right? Well, he was going to play in the NBA's development league and the G League. That's what he wanted to do. He wanted to go play in the G League Unite. But if you remember a while back, or not even a while back, just recently, the NBA waxed that. They said, no, that doesn't exist anymore. That shut down. That does not exist anymore. And so for a guy like Bryson Tucker, now he's like, oh, crap, here we go. Now I got to go find somewhere to play college ball. So teams like Michigan State, Kansas, and Indiana have reached out. 3 major, massive blue blood programs have reached out to this guy, and they want him, and they want him right now. Here's the thing. I think Liam McNeeley's probably going to end up at Kansas anyway, so do they really go and get this other guy? They would want him, sure, but would he actually choose Kansas? Probably not. But here's what we're hearing about this visit. It went extremely well. Like, really, really good. And there are some in the media that are saying you could say this, and I agree with them, and I think this is from what I've heard. I think this is true. I think Indiana is in the lead for Bryson Tucker, the All-American. I really, really do. I think he fits the system well. I think it's an attractive place for him to be because it's so passionate, it's so caring, it's so loving, and they've put guys in the league that are like him, that are his build, his style, which we're going to talk about his style of play coming up in a little bit. But I just think this is a place that he would really thrive. And what's really attractive to him in a weird way is the fact that there are no other high school recruits coming in. I know that's not normally something you want to sell and be like, hey, we have nobody else coming in. Don't you want to come here? But I think at this point, it's like, hey, we have nobody else coming in. We need your help. We need you you could say desperately. I don't know if you want to use that word to this kid, but that's what you can say is, hey, we need you, and you're going to be an immediate impact player. I don't know if you start day one. You very well might. You very well might. We talked about the roster yesterday. It's in shambles right now. So you bring in a guy like this, and yeah, he's going to play right away, and he's going to be a guy that elevates your roster and elevates your team from day one that he steps on campus and signs the papers. And from everything that I've seen and heard and been told about his visit from him or his family is they really liked it. I mean, they like it here. They understand what's going on. They feel that he can be successful here. And that's exciting. That's really exciting news. The fact that Indiana is in on this guy and that he really enjoyed it. 6'6". I mentioned earlier, he can kind of play in a couple of different spots, and he would elevate this roster so quick. I saw somebody, I believe it was on 247, compare him to Mackenzie and Mgbako, except he was more athletic, faster, and kind of just better than Mackenzie and Mgbako. A better shooter? I don't know. I've watched a lot of film on him over the last couple of days on Bryson Tucker. I don't know if he has just the raw shooting ability that Mackenzie and Mgbako does, but this guy's got a lot more shiftiness to his game, and maybe that's just something that comes with confidence. I think Mackenzie and Mgbako is going to get there too. But overall, Bryson Tucker is a really, really good player. I mean, look, he's a McDonald's All-American. He's a top 30 player in the country. Yeah, we'd be lucky to have him. We'd be grateful to have him. And as I mentioned, with so many question marks on the team next year and on the roster next year, not having any idea what's coming in through the portal, this would be a massive addition. This would be a win for Mike Woodson and Indiana. I don't care that it's late in the game. I don't care that there's only 2 or 3 schools that are interested in him. Go get this guy. You have to have him. You cannot be a major Power 5, Power 6 basketball program and go an entire cycle and not have a single recruit out of high school. That is unacceptable to me. You cannot do that. So maybe this is a blessing in disguise, right? Maybe this is just the world and the stars aligning and the world saying, you know what, Hoosiers, you need some help. I've been watching you. You need some help. Here's Bryson Tucker. Now it's time for the Hoosiers to go and close on this guy. He would bring so much potential to this roster once again. Young, raw talent that the Hoosiers have a chance to mold. Mike Woodson would have a chance to mold and make what he wants to make out of this guy. I'm excited. Go watch some film on Bryson Tucker, man. It's a lot of fun. We're going to talk about his skill set, his play style, how it fits Indiana, maybe how he could change Indiana's play style as well. We'll talk about that in just a second. But Bryson Tucker, the McDonald's All-American, was on campus and really, really enjoyed it. And again, I think Indiana's in the lead here. So keep your eye on that. We'll keep you updated here on the show. We'll take a short break, come back, and have the breakdown of Bryson Tucker's game. How could he fit this roster and his play style of the 5-star McDonald's All-American Bryson Tucker? We'll have that in just a second on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Nissan. This week's March Madness bracket highlight is brought to you by our friends at Nissan. Each week, we're picking one team that stands out, a team that's pushed it further than the rest. Just like any of the all-new 2024 Nissan SUVs, these guys were able to take it to the next level. The North Carolina Tar Heels can only be described as an armada. This one seed is as hardcore as it gets out there, so it's no wonder they secured a spot in the Sweet 16 this Thursday against Alabama in the NCAA tournament. They're a favorite picked by many to make a run to a championship, and I have them beating Alabama to get to the Elite Eight, probably playing Iowa State, and I think they'll get to the Final Four at this point. Take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Shop NissanUSA.com. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Better Together. Look, Better Together is the first cooperative daily fantasy sports application. Better Together. They offer a familiar experience for existing daily fantasy sports players with a social twist. You can play with a friend, teammate, coworkers, roommates, whatever. You can join contests and play better together with them. It creates a shared experience. Splitting a contest entry gives the feeling of being connected, even when you're apart. You don't have to be in the same room. You can be across the country. I do it with some of my family members right now. It's super easy, and it's a way where you can stay connected with those friends, with those family, when gone are the days of watching sports together in person. Us here at Locked On, we're doing all these different contests, and that's how it works. You join contests, you win points together, and you win together. You can cheer for it and pick things, and you work together as a team to make sure you win the most. It provides a sense of community, meeting, and working together with fellow fans of your favorite teams. Look, I love this app. We just started it, and it's a lot of fun. There's so many different possibilities. That's what's really cool about Better Together is the fact that it's not just, okay, hop on here, do this, and then you're done and hope it wins. No, there's so many things. You can spend hours on this app each and every day. And look, sometimes I do. Download Better Together now from the App Store and sign up using promo code LOCKEDON for a chance to win your share of over $1,000 in cash prizes. Remember the code LOCKEDON because winning alone is fun, but it is better together. Welcome back into Locked On Hoosiers. Appreciate you being here, making this your first listen each and every day. Talking about Bryson Tucker, the 5-star McDonald's All-American 2024 recruit who is extremely young, like very, very young, still a flat-out kid that is trying to get recruited and come play basketball here in Bloomington. But the question is, okay, this big-time guy's on campus. He really likes Indiana. The Hoosiers are really interested, might be in the lead, could possibly land this guy. What's he going to bring, right? What does he do to the current roster and the game style and game plan of this Indiana team and coaching staff right now? Well, if you go and watch his film, he is deadly from mid-range, which is really interesting and, in my opinion, a lost art. I mean, that is a lost art in today's world of basketball because now it's Steph Curry changed the game where it's, okay, I'm going to huck up so many threes that you can't even count, right? But this guy has his certain spots on the floor. He likes the block, and he likes that inside the free throw line, the high elbow. He's going to get there with a power dribble, and he's going to pull up, and he's going to rise and fire, and he's going to knock it down. And that's exciting to watch. And again, I think that's a lost art because people don't do that anymore. Some do, and a lot of players do that when they have to. They do that in a pinch. They do it to bail themselves out, end of shot clock type of situations. Not this guy. Bryson Tucker does this because that's his game and that's his favorite shot. So he's a good ball handler, knows what he wants to do, and can see the floor in the half court really, really well. I will say this. I saw somebody point this out in some of his film. His shot is not very arcing. I don't know if that's a word. We're going to claim that here on the show. It doesn't have a whole lot of arc to it. How about that? It's a flatter shot, which basically is, I'm saying, when he shoots it, it's just like a bullet almost, and it goes straight towards the rack. Now, it still goes in a lot. It's effective. It's just, it affects his three-point shooting, and when he gets to the higher level, that's going to impact how the defense plays him, and he's going to have to get a little bit more air under that basketball because some of these big guys, these 7-footers are going to close out on him in mid-range, and they're going to snatch it right out of his hand. And that's something that he has to fix. But as a shooter, very effective. His three-point shooting, not so great. His free throw shooting, it's not so great either. But his field goal shooting is good, and his ball handling, his assisting, his just kind of game managing is really, really good. And his foul shooting, I think he's like a 60% shooter from the free throw line. So nothing crazy. But again, he's just got that raw talent where he would slip into this roster in this lineup for Indiana right now. And he's not going to be a guy that you inbound the ball to every time. I think you could, and I think you could see him handle the basketball similar to what Trey Galloway did. But this guy's more dangerous than Trey Galloway because, again, this guy can get to the rack when he wants to. He can find his spot on the floor. He can create his own shot. How many guys could do that on last year's team on this roster? 2, 3, maybe? I mean, Ware and Renew could. Galloway could when he needed to, but nobody else could go out and just create their own shot. They had to be set up and ready to go. Xavier Johnson every now and then, but they had to be out and ready and get a pass and shoot off the pass, right? Or then dribble off the pass and make the shot off of that. So I don't think that's the case with Bryson Tucker. I think if you give him the ball in the half court, say, hey, we need a bucket. Let's go get one. He would at least attempt to do it. I can't guarantee that he's going to get it. We got to see what his game would translate to the college level, but he at least has the confidence, it seems, to go and do that. But my concern is what we saw with our other McDonald's All-American 5-star freshman that came in this past year with Mackenzie Mgbako. It took him a long time to get comfortable, right? I mean, it took him a long, long time to really start establishing himself. It was Big Ten play, halfway through Big Ten play, before he realized, hey, I'm really good at basketball. And he finally started getting a little bit of swagger and would handle the basketball, would put it on the floor, would get to the rack, would shoot some of those floaters and mid-range jumpers rather than just standing out on the three-point line and hoping that he was left open. So will that happen with Bryson Tucker if he chooses Indiana? I don't know. And the question, too, does that say more about Mackenzie Mgbako or does that say more about Indiana? I think this would be a perfect litmus test, right? What happens if you bring in another big-time 5-star McDonald's All-American recruit and it takes him forever to get comfortable? He can't figure it out. He's a liability on defense. If that's the case, right? That's what I'm saying. This is a big if here. If that's the case, then you really have to start looking at the roster. You have to start looking at the coaching staff. You have to start looking at Mike Woodson and all these guys that are there, all these legends that are there, and say, what are we doing to coach? What are we doing to prepare? What are we doing to make them better? And that's okay. Like, none of these coaches are above criticism. That's one thing I have learned over time, not just doing this show, but just doing sports media, is I have accepted that no coach is above criticism. I don't care who you are, what you've done, or how much money you make or how many rings you have. Nobody is above criticism. And that especially goes for Mike Woodson and this staff, who, let's be honest, they received quite a bit of criticism this year for a lot of their coaching decisions. And this could be a major concern. We had this conversation during the season. It's like, okay, at what point do we really start questioning their style, their mindsets, their goal, their roadmap for these players? It may have been a one-off thing with Mackenzie Mgbako, but if you go get a Bryson Tucker, you've got to develop him, and you have to make him better and make it worth his time because A, he'll leave, and then B, the reputation here is going to be abysmal for big-time high school recruits. So there's a lot riding on this, sure, but if he does come here and steps into this roster, I think he's an immediate impact guy, and he would need to develop a shot. But I think for the offense that we run of, okay, let's pass it around, let's get it to our playmakers inside, and let's try to get a bucket in the lane, I think this guy can help you do that. I think he can get the buckets in the lane. I think he can dish it in and see the floor and set the screens and do what it takes to get some points on the offensive end, and that's what's exciting about Bryson Tucker. And as I said, I think Indiana's in the lead. I think you really liked it here. I'm hoping for some big-time updates in the next couple of days, so we'll keep you updated here on the show. That's on the high school side of recruiting, but so many names in the transfer portal that we need to update you on. We'll do that coming up next on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode is brought to you by Fire TV. I love my Fire TV so much. I download all my apps on it. It's 65 inches. There it is over there, looking at it right now. I download all my apps. I sign into everything I need. I use the Fire TV channels, and I'm done. It's literally that simple. It is super, super easy. You can pair it with a ton of different Amazon devices, which is super, super neat as well. Look, it's your destination for everything: sports, live games, highlights. You've got viewing experiences on all the smart TVs, and you can use your Fire TV stick to plug into your existing TV that literally makes it a Fire TV. So whether it's, hey, opening day for baseball, we're finally here for that, or the college basketball tournament, you're going to want to watch and have a Fire TV. I've also told you a lot about these Fire TV channels. It's individual channels for everything you could ever want. All of our shows here at Locked On, including Locked On Hoosiers. You've got MLB, NBA, NHL, those two sports getting down to the wire, postseason right around the corner. You can download those apps, and it's focused on just those sports. March Madness as well. So be sure that you check out Fire TV channels on your Fire TV and Alexa devices. If you haven't checked it out, please do it. To learn more, visit www.amazon.com/LockedOnFireTV.
I don't know that.
Oh, all right. I was talking about my Fire ad and Alexa started going off. That's funny. Okay, well, technology, right? How about that? Final segment on Locked On Hoosiers. Appreciate you being here and making this your go-to spot. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Talked a lot about Bryson Tucker and the high school side of things, but man, the transfer portal is off and running, and it is hot right now for Indiana basketball. You've got guys that are hearing from Indiana, guys that are interested in Indiana, guys that are visiting Indiana. I mean, look at all of these names. South Dakota State, Zeke Mayo. George Mason transfer, Keyshawn Hall. Iowa transfer, and Tony Perkins, right? Belmont transfer, Cade Tyson. Northern Kentucky transfer, Marquez Warwick. And Bradley transfer, Connor Hickman. Belmont transfer, Malik Dia. Just so many players that the Hoosiers are reaching out to. Some of them are already taking visits. Some of them are interested. Some of them have turned us down and gone other places. But man, it's so nice to see that we're going after a lot of these guys. The only one that's a power 6 that I've really heard of that Indiana's in for is the Iowa transfer, Tony Perkins. But you know what? That's where the transfer portal has evolved. And that's where it's really become its greatest asset, is going after mid-major players, mid-major guys that did not get the love out of high school, went and played at the South Dakota States and the Belmonts of the world, and went and really lit it up and showed, hey, I can play basketball and I can play at a high level. And then they get their shot at the big times at the Power 5, Power 6 level. Some pan out and some don't. I mean, you had guys in the NCAA tournament like Golke, who from Oakland, who just absolutely torched everybody and just turned the world upside down and was the story of the tournament. I'm sure he'll get a chance if he wants to go somewhere. So out of all of these guys, good thing is we're going after shooters and we're going after size. 90% of these guys have been guards, which is awesome. We need that desperately. And I know we just talked about Bryson Tucker, who is a guard/forward-ish type of player. Indiana's been reaching out to just pure guards, man. Guys like Zeke Mayo from South Dakota State. And the list of schools that have reached out to him, are you ready for this? I'm going to read it off to you. Kansas, Auburn, Texas, Missouri, Ole Miss, Florida, Houston, Oklahoma, Alabama, Kansas State, Indiana, Utah, and Arkansas. Yeah, that is unbelievable. Now, he did declare for the draft, but he can come back, and he probably will. He's probably going to go test it out and then come back and play one more year of school. 6'3", Summit League Player of the Year. Averaged 19 points, 6 rebounds, 3.5 assists, and a steal per game. 46% from the floor, 39% from three, and 83% from the free throw line. Yeah, go get Zeke Mayo. Go get him right now. You talk about a guy that's going to come in and give you 1 year of spark, 1 year of energy, 1 year of just flat out scoring and shooting the basketball. It is Zeke Mayo. He's one of the highest recruited guys in the transfer portal right now, and Indiana has got to go after him. And I told you about the Iowa transfer, Tony Perkins, who is from the state of Indiana. He's from Indianapolis. is one of the schools that has reached out to him: Ole Miss, Arizona State, Arkansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, us, Nebraska, UCLA, Miami, and BYU in the first hour, man. Transfer portal is unbelievable. He averaged 14 points, 4.5 assists, and 4.5 rebounds this past year. 43% from the field. 3-point shooting, not so great, and free throw shooting is okay, I guess. So this is more of a going to get a Power 5 guard that can kind of manage the game a little bit better, I guess. But I don't know. I think he's a good player. I think he would bring in the experience. And look, not everybody has to be a shooter. Hell, we just played a season when they didn't have one shooting guard, didn't have a single guard that could shoot the basketball. So anybody you bring in is going to be an upgrade at this point. I say all of that to say this as we wrap it up. Indiana is very active in the portal, and we have to be. We don't have a choice. We don't have a choice. We have to go get guys. But the portal's been extremely active. We've got to hit on them. Just reaching out to them doesn't win you any trophies, Woody, right? Go and get these guys on campus and get them to sign and transfer here. Then you got to lock down Bryson Tucker, do all that, bring in some talent, and give us some hope for next season, and then start developing. And some things got to change on the back end too, and the way we're playing and the way we're coaching and the way that we're game planning. But that's a story for a much, much later date. You can reach out to all the kids you want, but until you get them to sign and commit and transfer to Bloomington, I'm not pleased and I'm not happy. And I don't think you are either. So hopefully those begin to roll in. And you know what? I think they will. So hold on to your hats and continue to stick with us here at Locked On Hoosiers. We'll keep you updated on everything that happens in high school recruiting and the transfer portal, plus some more spring football updates. We got some women's updates we need to talk about with them playing South Carolina tomorrow. We'll have all that for you on the show tomorrow. So until next time, Hoosier fans, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.